Alright, in this video I'm going to go over how to make realistic looking mockups for your logos inside of Inkscape. And I purposefully chose a shirt that has a lot of folds in it. So I'm just going to type some text and bring this on top of our t-shirt. Rotate that a little bit to match the angle of the shirt. Something like that will do the job. Okay, so what we want to do is click on the text object, come over to path, object to path, turn that into a unified path object. And with that done, come over to the path effects menu. With that selected, what you're looking for the lattice deformation path effect. And once you click on that, it's already applied. I'll press N to get the nodes tool and you'll get this grid with a lot of diamond shaped nodes. And we can use these to deform this object however we want. Now this doesn't allow for very precise deformations, but it does give us some kind of added detail that we can add to our design before we finalize it as a mockup. So what I'll do is I'll just zoom right in on this area and I want to emulate the folds in the t-shirt. So right here there's a fold. We just raise this area up just a tiny bit and we do the same thing with this node. We do the same thing to this node like that, and we do the same thing right here, right? Don't click away, keep selecting that. Right here we do something like that, and you want to like warp it, and you want to realistically warp it a little bit. We want to compress this area as much as we can, right here where there is a fold, we want to compress that area as much as we can because that is what looks realistic. And I think that is more than enough right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and compress this area a little bit as well. I'm just gonna bring this area a little bit in. I'm gonna take this node and bring this in a little bit. Take that and bring that in. Take this node and bring this in. And I think that right there more or less is fine. You guys get the idea of what you're supposed to do. And now just know this though, that this is not going to be applicable to a group of objects like a logo with lots of different colors. This is only going to be possible with a logo that is a unified path. So because you can't apply this path effect to a group of objects, you can only apply this to a unified path, of course. So once you're done with that and you're happy with it, don't finalize the path effect yet because you might want to make some changes to it. Come over to the fill and stroke menu, and on the fill tab, come over to the blend mode and change the blend mode to soft light. Obviously this is too faint, so we'll make several copies of this. So I'll press Ctrl D once, twice, and 3 times, and maybe even a 4th copy. That looks too bad. I'm gonna delete the 4th copy with 3 copies, with 3 more copies. So there's a total of 4 copies right here. I'm going to click on the top copy, and I'm just going to come over to my color palette, and I'm going to select a much darker version of the same color I'm using. So I'm just going to give it that color. If you still don't like it and you feel like it's too much, press Ctrl D with that darker color, but I like that, so I'm just going to go with that. And that right there is pretty much your mockup completed. It looks pretty good, pretty realistic. Alright, so let's move on to the next image, and I'll type a text object to use as our mockup. And before I do anything, I'll just zoom in. And I'll place this design right here. So what I want to do is I want to just scale this down a tiny bit. I'll hold Control, scale it down to about that size. And with that selected, come over to Path, Object to Path, and then come over to Path and Split Path. And what I want to do is I'll click on this object and this one and this one and this one. I'm going to leave the center two objects alone. I'm not going to select those. I'm just gonna select these four characters, and I'll click and hold this handle, and I just drag this in to compress these objects a tiny bit, about that much, maybe a little bit more. Right about there is fine, and then shift click on this one, shift click right there, and then space these out evenly with this button right here. And what I want to do now is I want to actually reduce the spacing between these two characters. So I'll hold control and I just space it like that. I'll come out this one and I'll click right there, hold control, space it on the horizontal axis and space it tightly like that. And then right there I want to just space these out like that. I want the spacing between these two characters and these two characters greater than the spacing between these two. And that is simply because when you're looking at an object like this, the outside areas right here will be more compressed looking than the inside, the middle area right here. So with that done, select all of these objects by holding shift and clicking, and then come out to path and union to unionize them, and then just rotate them to the angle of the image. I think right about there looks fine. No. Right about there looks okay. So select that object, hold control and shift and scale it up to about that size. And then just move it right to the center. No. Right there looks pretty good. I just want to move it a little bit to that side, and that's looking pretty good. It already is looking pretty good. I haven't even touched it yet. So let's just click on that. And what I want to do is I want to come over to the fill and stroke menu, and on the fill tab change the blend mode to soft light, and again we're going to make multiple copies of these. That's 3 more copies, and 1 more copy should do the job, and that right there looks pretty good. So you can see if you zoom in, actually maybe there is some detail loss, so just delete the top copy, and now if you zoom in you can see the detail right there. It looks pretty good. If you zoom out, it looks pretty nice and pretty realistic. It does actually retain the shadows and the highlights as well, and if you zoom in you can definitely see some detail in there as well. So that look right there looks pretty nice. So for the final mockup, I just want to take this coffee logo and place this on top of this cup. I just bring in the logo, and the cup is not fully horizontal, so I just want to click on the logo and rotate this tiny bit like that. What about there looks fine. And all I really want to do is now what you can do is you can use the envelope deformation path effect to deform this a little bit if you want to. But for this logo, what I want to do is I just want to take the handle right here. So this is a circular logo. I don't want to warp it too much, it will lose its proportions. So I'll take this handle and just compress this a little bit, just to give this a little bit more of an oval shape. And with that done, just click again and let's rotate that again. About that much. Looks pretty much good. And just center this like that and scale it up proportionally. Looks, that right there looks pretty good. With that done, come over to the fill and stroke menu, and we're going to change the blend mode to overlay. And then press Ctrl D and change the blend mode of this copy to soft light. And then press Ctrl D one more time. And that right there is pretty good. If you think it's not, or if you feel like it's too dark on this side, then just drop the opacity a tiny bit of the final copy. And that should give you the look you're going for. I think that right there looks pretty realistic. So that is basically how you can make realistic looking mockups inside of Inkscape, although you can't really make too complex mockups, and not for logos that are a group of objects. Now you can if it's a flat mockup, but you'll have to play around with it. But for the most part, if you have a unified path, you can create some pretty good looking mockups. And that is it for this video. Thank you for watching.